Hi, welcome to a brand new video. I am Dr. Vishal and today I am going to try to answer a question which is very important, very common, and the answer to which is fairly complicated. The question is, what should you do after your MBBS? So if you're a medical student who has been frustrated or has been confused with thinking about what you should do now that your MBBS is about to finish, and there are so many tempting options, more so which have been added in the last few decades, then perhaps this video by the end can give you some perspective about what you should do. I was in the same boat. I was struggling with the same confusion a couple of years back, and now that I am on the other side of post-graduation, perhaps I can help you in taking a call, and if I can, then I would consider myself lucky. I have categorized the various options which are there, which you can take up after MBBS, into a few categories. Now there are endless number of permutations and combinations which one can choose after they have finished MBBS. MBBS has become like a starting degree, like a stepping stone to further specializations, and things are not like they were before, where you could only specialize as a doctor who wishes to see patients, and then you could choose a branch and then work more and more in that. That is still one of the most strongest path a post MBBS can follow, that you do a post-graduation in one of the clinical branches and then you super or subspecialize, and that pretty much becomes your life and career for the rest of 30 or 40 or 50 years and how long ever you wish to practice. But along with that, new options have come. So still there are basically few categories, few key questions that you have to ask yourself and find the answers to, so that you can clearly decide what do you want to do. So let us see how we can go about it. So the three main questions that I believe one has to ask if they are finishing MBBS or just finished MBBS is that, one, do you want to stay in India or do you want to go abroad? Two, whether you want to be a clinical doctor or a non-clinical doctor. Do you wish to continue seeing patients or you don't want to see patients anymore? And three, are you tempted towards unconventional careers, or are you okay with the security and the stability which comes with a conventional career option? So we will go in depth into the answers of these questions, and to make it even simpler to permute and make more combinations, I have given numbers to each of them, so that when you are sitting and deciding, perhaps it is easy to find numerical combinations and decide what do you want, what do you don't want. It is like a DIY kind of a bird's eye view of the career path that you wish to choose, and I hope it makes sense and it also helps. If it is too confusing, then you can of course reach out to me and maybe I can help you in a better way. So the first question that we need to answer is, do you wish to go abroad or do you wish to stay in India? This is important because the more degrees you build upon after your MBBS, the more difficult it becomes to go abroad, because every country where you go, they have their own licensing exams and they have their own rules and regulations which you have to follow if you want to practice in that country. This is very different from how it is for non-medical degrees. Like if you're a software engineer, you can pretty much work anywhere in the world, but it is not like so in medicine and a few other careers. So first question which you have to answer is that, do you wish to stay in India or do you wish to go abroad? And accordingly you have to plan your exams which you have to take. The sooner you know the answer to this question, the better it is for you to plan out your career in advance. Of course, each of them have their own pros and cons. There are few pros of staying in India because you know the system, you are a citizen of this country. It is easier to navigate your way through the medical college and the curriculum. You go abroad, you have to start from scratch. Of course, it has its own perks. The pay is higher, the lifestyle is much better. Things are more formalized, you are safe, so to say, because in India, medical doctor-related violence is also on the rise. So these could be the various factors which make you decide whether you want to stay in India or do you want to go abroad. Also, affordability is an issue, because sometimes you may not be financially strong enough to go abroad and find yourself staying over there and bearing all the cost which is necessary. Sometimes it may also be possible that you have to stay in India because of various non-financial or family and property related things that might tie you to this country. So these are all the factors which you have to take into consideration before you decide whether you want to stay in India or do you want to go abroad. The next question that we have to answer is that do you want to see patients or do you don't want to see patients? Now, after your MBBS, after learning everything that is there, at least having the foundation laid properly, you have a clear understanding whether you enjoy seeing patients or you don't enjoy seeing patients, because most of the time in India, when somebody becomes a doctor, they have no idea what becoming a doctor is all about. Most of the students take medicine because it has been traditionally considered a sound career, a safe career to take, which ensures security, money, status, and all of those things, which are quite relevant in India still. So after your MBBS, there might be a chance where you may think that seeing patients and doing all the headache and listening to complaints day in day out and feeling helpless and not having solutions, not getting results, or maybe you must have had bad experiences with patients. You may decide that seeing patients is not your cup of tea. So that is the next most important question, because if seeing patients is not your cup of tea, then there are a lot of other options after your MBBS which you can take up, which are related to management, which are related to software, which are related to so many other things, which might be more appropriate and more suited to your personality or your idea of how your favorite job should be. So decide whether you want to see patients or you don't want to see patients. The third question that you have to ask is whether you want to be in a conventional job or whether you don't want to be in a conventional job. Why I'm saying so is because conventional, by the very sense of the word, means that if you choose a conventional path of your career, then the outcome will more often than not be as conventional as it gets. So if you're somebody who is motivated, who is inspired, who dreams of making it big, becoming one of those celebrities and influencers, then you have to be okay with taking the unconventional path. Sometimes it is not even in your hands or not even possible for you to choose something which is unconventional because of financial constraints, because of family background, because of pressure, this and that. So the earlier in your career you assess whether you want to stick to a conventional path of a secure job, a stable income, and a reasonable quality of life, or do you want to go all in and take the risk of becoming a big somebody or maybe struggling for a further more time in your life compared to your friends or peers. So if you come from a background where you can afford to take risk and make it big or lose it all, then maybe unconventional path after MBBS is for you. And if you are somebody who comes from a modest background and would wish to have things sorted, would wish to have things the way it is expected to, then maybe sticking to a conventional options after MBBS would be better for you. So we will take examples of each one of these and see how they look. So let us take the first example, the most conventional, the most traditional path a person takes after MBBS, and that is staying in India, doing a clinical job and choosing one of the conventional specialities. So if somebody wishes to stay in India, wants to see patients and is okay with choosing one of the tried and tested specialities, then he would end up doing something like general medicine, general surgery, maybe ENT, maybe ophthalmology, or one of those other specialities which we all know how they look, sound, feel, and are quite popular, and the career path is tried and tested. For example, if you're a physician, you pretty much know that you can super specialize into cardiology, you can subspecialize into diabetology, and you will get a job in a hospital, or maybe you can run your own practice, and the amount of money which you will make, the kind of practice which you would do is pretty known and not hard to guess, and not too many surprises on your way are expected. So that is one way of choosing a career path, which is you want to stay in India, you want to do clinical practice, and you are okay with conventional branches. Now we can add some more permutations and combinations to it. For example, if you want to go abroad but you want to see patients and you want a conventional career, then the first thing you will have to do after your MBBS is to give exams relevant to that country. The sooner you start, the better it is. The mistake which I did was that I waited till my MBBS was over to decide what should be done. What my friends did was they started much earlier, and hence they could plan out their career in a more seamless fashion. So this is something that I would like to tell you also, that if you plan to go abroad, the sooner you start, the better it is. So abroad plus clinical job plus a conventional job would sound like becoming a cardiologist in the US, or maybe becoming a nephrologist in Australia, or maybe doing emergency medicine in the UK. So these are jobs abroad which are clinical, which are conventional. Now let us take another example. For example, you want to go abroad, however, you don't want to see patients. You are okay with doing a non-clinical job, and you're looking for something which is unconventional. You can afford going abroad, struggling a bit, and try to make it big in one of the fancier fields, one of the unexplored, the less explored fields. Then what would your job prospects look like? So once you've done your MBBS, and assuming you've chosen your country where you want to go, you would have to give relevant exams. Now you don't want to see patients, so research is a good option, which is a lucrative option, not in India but abroad. So that is something which is unconventional by Indian standards, but conventional by other standards of developed countries, where you can go, you can avoid seeing patients, you can do research. And to add a little more unconventionality to it, you can not just do research, you can come up with books about your research. These books can be academic books, they can be non-academic books which people can read, which make it to the New York Times top seller list. You could become an influencer, you could take up medical journalism, or in fact you could do both. One of my inspirations is Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who is not just a neurosurgeon but also a very famous medical journalist. Now these career options will lead you to becoming a medical script writer, a medical author, and a lot of other things in between. They sound fun, they are unconventional, but unfortunately in India, as of now at least, I don't see much of scope or much of security in doing these things. Whereas abroad, things are more planned out. You are better, you are safe doing these unconventional things over there, is what I feel. So again, it boils down to answering three questions: India or abroad, clinical or non-clinical, and conventional or unconventional. So abroad plus non-clinical plus unconventional would look like options between sleep research, artificial intelligence, genetics, medical journalism, anthropology, history. So your MBBS degree can be turned and twisted into so many other ways if you ask the right questions and plan accordingly. Along with that, I want to highlight another option which is basically moves around internet. For example, if you live in India and you don't want to do a clinical job and you are okay with doing unconventional things, you can afford that, then you can leverage the internet to make money, and a lot of people have been doing that. So you have a lot of student YouTubers or maybe influencers who make decent money, and they can leverage their medical degree, give medical education to students. They can join coaching classes, which is quite lucrative these days, online and offline. So if you want to stay in India, you don't want to see patients, and or at the same time you are tempted towards doing something unconventional, then there are a couple of options in India as well, like I said, and most of them are internet related. And the fun part about doing internet related things is that you can do it from anywhere in the world as long as you have a decent internet connection. So these are the kind of options which have come up recently in the past couple of years, and if you're somebody who can afford and is okay with going the untrodden path, then it might make sense for you to choose one of these career options. Now, I've been talking a lot about conventional and unconventional. So there is one thing that I realized out of experience and talking to so many people, that people are always tempted towards doing unconventional things, but they don't really know the price which needs to be paid for those unconventional things. So here's what I've observed is that taking a conventional career, especially after MBBS, and the thing about MBBS is that it is a huge investment in time, if not money. More often than not, it is an investment of money and time both. So after you've invested so much time in learning to see patients, you would want to build the security around it so that you can keep on doing those things in the long run. However, if you're tempted towards unconventional things, then the first risk that you take is the time which you have spent in doing MBBS might go completely waste. This is the price that you have to pay if you start with doing unconventional things like not seeing patients and picking up medical journalism, YouTubing, or any other fancier unconventional things. So the first price you have to pay is the risk you take of not doing justice to your degree. That is the first self-doubt which will come to you. The second thing is that the doubt will come from your near and dear ones. The third, I believe, the problem you will face is financial constraints in the long run, because a lot of unconventional jobs don't pay you that well very early. So if you're somebody who can afford all of these problems, then perhaps you can choose unconventional things. Here comes the question of passion. Passion so far has been only talked about as something which is very abstract, something which is very motivating, but nobody really has figured out what it actually means. So perhaps I can help you figure out what passion is. Passion basically means being able to do something in spite of all the negative signals that you are getting. Your doubt from your parents, doubt from your family, doubt from your friends, doubt from the society, doubt from within yourself. And if in spite of that you keep on doing something and you shine at the end, then we would say that you are a passionate person. So if you're choosing something which is unconventional and coming from something which is as conventional as MBBS, then it is a big leap from conventional to unconventional, and you have to keep in mind that there will be a lot of time where you would not be making enough money. There will be a lot of self-doubt. You would be very close to being unsuccessful. But if by stroke of magic and luck you can overcome it, you can run through it and come out shining, then something which is unconventional might work in your favor big time, and it could be really, really, really rewarding. On the other hand, things which are conventional don't require much of passion, so to say. A classic example would be everyday jobs which we see people doing. For example, a bank teller's job, somebody who's riding a cab, somebody who's working in some other office, or maybe a doctor who's done his MBBS and MD and then he's seeing patients day in, day out. Now these jobs don't ask much from you. They don't require much of what I would call passion. All they need is you to be educated, qualified enough, and have a working knowledge of whatever it needs to be done for your patients. So you can survive without much of passion, much of self-doubt. And if you're somebody who is easily bogged down, then perhaps a conventional job would be more suited to you. The pros of a conventional job is that you have surety. It is a tried and tested path. It is not that expensive financially, time-wise it is not that expensive. You will have your people and friends agreeing with you, maybe congratulating you at the same time. So you will have a lot of positive reinforcement if you choose a conventional path, at least in India. Abroad, the things are different. And at the end of the day, it is generally reasonably rewarding taking the conventional part after your MBBS. So you have to make a choice between being okay with conventional and reasonably rewarding and going towards something which is highly rewarding but highly risky. So with all of this information that I could plan out, that I could assimilate, I hope it gives you a bird's eye view of what you can do once you have decided to take what you can do after your MBBS and how things can plan out. I have specifically stayed out of picking few careers and giving you the pros and cons out of it, because there are too many and I'm not the expert person for each and every one of them. But this is the bird's eye view which I think somebody should have given me before I was about to decide my career after my MBBS. So I hope this helps. I'm always open to discussion. Let me know what do you think, more questions to ask. Of course, they are welcome. And if you like this video, if you find it helpful, then subscribe to the channel and share the word around. I will see you in the next video.